Welcome to the Story Apothecary, a podcast filled with healing and medicinal stories. My name is Nana Tomova, and I'm a traditional storyteller and a pharmacist, and stories are medicines which I dispense. In this podcast, you'll find my prescriptions of stories for the body, mind, heart, soul, and for the earth. So I invite you to join me as we enter the healing world of stories together. Hello and welcome to this month's story. As I'm recording this, there is so much snow outside my window. It has been snowing constantly for a few days. It's quite the white winter. I come with a story from Russia. It is one that I've had my eye on for, I think, a few years. And I was listing through pages of books, and this one popped out. I thought, of course, yes, it will be this one. So I hope you enjoy the Tsaritsa Harpist. In a certain kingdom that is many days' walk from here, in a certain land a long, long time ago, there lived a Tsar and a Tsaritsa, a king and a queen. They lived together for many a year, many a day. They were happy. They had what they could want. They had much gold, much silver, much food, many servants. But there was one thing the Tsar wanted or needed. And like so many tales of this kind go, it is usually a child, but not in this story. The Tsar wanted to travel. He wanted to feel the road under his feet. He wanted to feel the wind in his hair against his face. He wanted to set his eyes on the road in the distance, to see new worlds, to see new buildings, to smell new smells, to eat new food, to hear new languages. Who knew what else he might have wanted? He had a certain country that he set his eyes upon and he travelled. He was a king, he was a learned man, so he knew the directions. He knew his north from his south, his east from his west. He put his feet to the road and set off. He walked for many days. He passed through certain buildings so tall that his eyes popped. He passed through certain quarters so poor that his heart ached. He passed through streets where women gave him certain smiles and a beckoning look. He passed through narrow alleyways where there were robbers and bandits. He made a mistake, though. He kept some objects on him that would give away that he was someone of value, that he was a Tsar, that he had been a ruler. And so, finally, after much travel where he was weary, where he was footsore, where his face was dirty from the road, where his hair was messy, where he had the dirt on the seams of his clothes and the blackness under his fingernails. He finally reached the distant land that he had aimed to go to. In that country, there was an accursed king that was the ruler. He was known to be merciless. He was known to put people he was afraid of in prison with such harsh punishments that your heart ached just to think about it. He saw the Tsar. He took one look at him, at this traveller, head to toe, across his body he scanned and he saw. He saw through the dirty clothes. He saw through the weary eyes. He saw through the dirty fingernails and knew that that had been the ruler, and therefore the accursed king's own throne may be in jeopardy. He did not ask questions of what brings you here and why you're travelling, or begin to understand. No, he asked no questions. If only people could speak. If only people could have conversations, then many wars, many atrocities would be averted. And this accursed king saw the Tsar and bade him to be seized and put in a dungeon. There were many prisoners in this dungeon. Their cries could be heard across through the walls. There were many tortures in the dungeon for the Tsar. At night he did not have a bed, but he was made to sit in chains. He did not get a peaceful night's sleep. His limbs ached so. His wrists and ankles were black and blue from where the iron of a chains rubbed against his limbs. The lack of sleep made him age so many years. In the morning there was a horse collar put upon him, and he was made to drive the plough until the evening all throughout the fields. The advisers of the king would laugh. He was made like an animal. It's hard to go from that position to this lowly place. The days and the nights were tougher than I can tell you. When he did sleep, he had nightmares. He had aged in those 3 years that he was in that kingdom, in that dungeon, as if he had lived 30. There was no peace of mind left in him. There was little hope. Little. But it was there. And after 3 long years, he finally thought he had no idea how to tear himself away, how to escape, how to seek for help. He had not sent any word to his wife, to the Tsaritsa. Maybe he should. Maybe he should ask for help. And so he decided to write a letter. He wrote a little line. He beckoned forth a guard. He gave him the last valuable piece he had, begged for a little bit of mercy, a little bit of faith, told him his story. He begged the guard well, and the guard sent the letter through, and it had reached, eventually, to the Tsar's tsardom, and the Tsaritsa read it. And inside the letter he had written just a few simple lines. Sell all my possessions and come to redeem me from my misfortune. The Tsaritsa read the letter again and again. How can I redeem the Tsar? She had some sort of idea of where he was. She had asked many a traveller, many a merchant, of where her husband might be. But after the receiving this letter, knowing that he needed her help, her questioning, her quest became even more intense. She asked all the advisors of where he could be. She pulled many favours, and finally she understood a little of his position. And she thought to herself, if I go myself, the accursed king of that land will receive me, and he'll probably take me to himself as a wife, as a concubine, as a mistress. I do not need to become another king's wife, let alone this one. My own Tsar is good enough a husband. And so she thought hard and long. If I send one of the ministers, she thought, I can place no reliance on him. This I need to do myself. She thought long and hard, day and night. She sat there staring into the distance. And when her fingers couldn't sit still, and when her legs couldn't stop moving, stop shaking, she walked on her legs across the gardens, the palaces. That is how she liked to think, with the wind in her hair, with a birdsong in her ear, looking at the beautiful trees, inhaling the scents of nature. And then she decided. She cut off her beautiful long red hair and disguised herself as a wandering musician. She took her guzli, her harp, her zither, and went on the road. She didn't tell a single soul. She just went on her travels. In those days, you could not travel as a woman. It was not safe. And so she went in disguise, wearing some of her husband's clothes. The simple clothes, mind you, not the most regal ones, for musicians don't make many a coin. And she wanted to look as truthful as possible, for her tale to be as believable as possible. She walked for many days, and when she was tired and weary, and her limbs were weak, but she still had the wits about her, and she had had a few coin to buy a dinner here or there at an inn. She arrived at the accursed king courtyard, and began to play the guzli so finely as had never been heard or listened to for many a year. The king who had not seen beauty for such a long time, the king who had only spoken atrocities, the king who had passed judgments that were so severe, who had never felt anything so light shift in his heart, stopped upon hearing such wondrous music. He summoned the harpist into the palace right away. He spread a feast, invited the harpist to eat. Guzliar, he said, from what land have you come? From what kingdom? Asked the king. Tell me, I have never heard such a music. Play for me, please, Guzliar, play for me on your guzli. The Tsaritsa Harpist in disguise looked at the king, smiled a slight, tiresome smile. I do not journey far in the wide world, she said. I rejoice men's hearts, and I feed myself. The king nodded. Stay with me, he pleaded. Stay with me one day, and then another, and a third. I will reward you generously, he said. And so the Guzliar, the Tsaritsa Harpist, stayed on. She was given a bed, a soft one. She was given food, finely cooked food. And for an entire day she played in front of the king, and he could never hear enough of her, of his new Guzliar. Oh, what wonderful music, the king would say. And something that had been laying on his heart like a stone shifted ever so slightly. What wondrous music! It drove away all weariness and grief as though at a breath. Play on, he beckoned her. When the sun had risen and set 3 times, the Guzliar asked to leave, and the king had made a promise. Oh, this king, he broke many of his promises, for he was not a just king or an honest king. But for the music he wanted to keep his word. For indeed, she had rejoiced this man's heart too. The Guzliar was going to say farewell to the king. And the king looked at this harpist. What can I reward you for your labor? He said. Oh, your majesty, said the Tsaritsa Harpist. Give me one of your prisoners, who has sat long in the prison, for you see I must have a companion on the road. I wish to go to foreign kingdoms and travel, and I get so lonely on the road. No one to talk to, no one to exchange words about the beauty of this world, the unfairness of this world. I wish to have someone to speak to. Please give me one of your prisoners. Certainly, said the king. What an easy reward. You wouldn't even have to lose any money. Go to a dungeon and select who you will, said the king. And he led the Guzliard into the prison. The Guzliard, the Tsaritsa Harpist, looked at the prisoners, one by one. She recognized her husband straight away. But nonchalantly she walked and she pointed, almost as if on random. This one, she said. And then the two of them went out to roam together. The Tsar was so tired, so weary, so exhausted, so broken, that he looked at this harpist, this Guzliar in front of him. There was an air of familiarity, but he did not trust his own mind anymore. He did not trust his memories, nor his heart. But to see the sun, to hear the bird song, to be able to wash himself in the river, to drink fresh water, to lie on the grass. Ah, so beautiful. The Tsar did not say many words. He hadn't spoken for such a long time. It seemed as if his throat was dry, was tight. They spoke a little. But the Tsaritsa Guzliar, she played on her guzli, and there was some soothing in that. In the melodies that she played during their travel, her husband, the Tsar, there was rejoicing in his heart. There was something moving, something being soothed. There was humanity. There was hope. There was love. There was life rushing back in his veins. As they were journeying on their own kingdom, and as they were approaching, the Tsar said, "Let me go, good man. he begged the Guzliar. Let me go. For you might not know, but I am no simple prisoner. I am the Tsar himself. And as he spoke those words, he could feel himself believing them once more, getting a little bit of excited about being back in his own home. I will pay you ransom, he said to the Guzliar, as much as you want. I will grudge you neither money nor service. Please just let me go. Go back to my tsardom, to my kingdom. May you go in peace, said the Guzliar. I do not need you at all. Go and be happy. Oh, the Tsar was so relieved. Oh, come as my guest, he said, please. Please play the beautiful music that you have played for me for so many days on the road. It would give me great pleasure to have you as my guest. The Guzliar nodded. Very well, was the reply. When the time shall come, I will be there. And then the harpist turned on their heel and disappeared down, down, down the road. Each of them a separate way. The Tsaritsa went by a circuitous route. It was quicker, and she reached home before her husband. The sun had a little more to go behind the western horizons. She washed herself, took a bath, took off her Gizliar's dress, and arrayed herself like an empress. She was beautiful. She smelt divine. She had the biggest smile on her face. And she walked, almost gliding across, waiting for him. In a few hours, cries rang out, and the attendants came up to the palace, for the Tsar had arrived. Such rejoicing there was from everyone. 3 long years. The Tsaritsa ran out to meet him. She cried for her husband, gleeful, joyful to see him. He greeted them all, one by one, all his advisers, all his workers, everyone from the kingdom. But he did not even look at her. He just saw her from the corner of his eye. He was so angry. He greeted the ministers and almost spat in anger, talking about his wife. Look at her. What a wife mine is, gentlemen. Now she flings herself on my neck. Now that I am back. But when I was in prison, and I sent her a letter telling her to sell all my goods and redeem me, she did nothing. She sat there and did nothing. And now she comes and welcomes me? Huh! What was she thinking? If so, she forgot to leech to her husband. The ministers, they spoke to him. Oh, your majesty, they said to the Tsar. On the very day that the Tsaritsa received your letter, she vanished. No one knows where. And she has been away all this time. She only just appeared in the palace, just a couple of hours before you. The Tsar's heart started beating. How dare she? Not only did she do nothing, but now she had taken the lover behind his back. As soon as she had learned of his suffering, she went who knows where and did who knows what. The Tsar was spitting words. My ministers, do you judge my unfaithful wife according to justice and to truth? Where has she been roaming across the wide world? Why has she not tried to redeem me? You would never have seen your Tsar again for eternity, for ages, if it had not been for a young Guzliar that had arrived, for who I am still so thankful. It was him that had released me, not my wife. It was him, the musician Guzliar. I do not grudge giving him half my kingdom even, I would not be alive if it was not for that young man. In the meantime, whilst this discussion was taking place, the Tsaritsa got off her throne, arrayed herself as the guzliar, as the harpist, went into the courtyard and began to play the guzli. The Tsar heard. He recognized the melodies instantaneously. He ran to meet this young musician, his savior, seized the musician by the hand, led the musician into the palace, and said to his court, "This is the guzliar who rescued me from my confinement." The guzliar, the harpist, then flung off his outer garment, and there, sitting in all her fineries, they all recognized the Tsaritsa. The Tsar's eyes, his mouth so wide in shock. He was overjoyed. He begged forgiveness for ever doubting his wife. He embraced her. They were celebrated with a fine meal, a feast so long, so rich that it lasted 7 whole days. The whole kingdom, the whole tsardom was invited. And the Tsaritsa, where she played her guzli so finely. And that was a story that the Tsar and the Tsaritsa loved telling, with a twinkle in their eye, for the memory of how his wife had saved him when he was a prisoner down in the dungeon. And that tsardom, that kingdom, had had many happier day from that moment forth. Thank you to In Feathers, as always, for the beautiful music, and thank you to Megan Sahara for the wonderful harp music, specifically for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the story about the cleverness of a woman who knew how to keep herself streetwise, who knew how to save her husband, and who could reveal her identity at the end of it. But not many women could in those days. They were in disguise and remained in disguise for fear of being found out and hunted or killed. But I love the humour of the story and the happy ending of the story, and the fact that music can make many things better, and the fact that retelling your story in the right circumstances, with the right people, with food and a gentle ear, with music and a feast, can be a great healer. Words are powerful. Words change many things. Thank you for choosing to spend a wee while listening to this tale. I hope that you carry it with you like a treasure in your pocket, and I look forward to seeing you soon next month for the beautiful few weeks. And come again, and maybe bring a friend. See you soon. Go well. Goodbye for now.